The Yellowhammer's Nest by John Clare, 1793 to 1864. Just by the wooden brig a bird flew up, Frit by the cowboy as he scrambled down to reach the misty dewberry. Let us stoop and seek its nest. The brook we need not dread, 'tis scarcely deep enough a bee to drown, so it sings harmlessly o'er its pebbly bed. Aye, here it is, stuck close to the bank, beneath the bunch of grass that spindles rank its husk, seeds tall and high. 'Tis rudely planned, bleached stubbles and the withered fare that last year's harvest left upon the land, lined thinly with the horse's sable hair, 5 eggs pen-scribbled o'er with ink their shells, resembling writing scrawls which fancy reads as nature's poesy and pastoral spells. They are the Yellowhammers, and she dwells most poet-like where brooks and flowery weeds, as sweet as castily to fancy seems, and that old molehill, like as Parnass hill, on which her partner haply sits and dreams o'er all her joys of song. So leave it still, a happy home of sunshine, flowers and streams, yet in the sweetest place cometh ill a noisome weed that burthens every soil. For snakes are known with chill and deadly coil to watch such nests and seize the helpless young, and like as though the plague became a guest, leaving a houseless home a ruined nest, and mournful hath the little warblings sung, when such like woes hath rent its little breast. Okay, this is a poem by John Clare. John Clare was a British poet. He was born in Northamptonshire near Peterborough. His father was a farm labourer, and he was a farm labourer. He started working on the farm from a very early age. He went to school until he was 12, but he went to the local school, but this is the local church school. But notice, as a farm labourer, when work was to be done on the farm, then work came first, and there would only be school on days when there was no work to do, so perhaps in the depth of winter, so he didn't receive a great deal of schooling. He tried all sorts of jobs, and he started writing to try and save his family from eviction when he's very young, but he didn't manage to save them. But that's where he started to gain a name as a poet. I think Lord Fitzwilliam was one of his benefactors, but he was never very generous with John Clare. Anyway, John Clare had problems. He never made enough money, so he worked as a farm labourer and sold poems as well at the same time, but he was always broke. Clare suffered from depression, and finally, later in life, he went mad, and he believed that he was Lord Byron, and that he was Shakespeare reincarnated, and he spent most of the last years of his life in Northampton Mental Asylum. So a sad story, but Clare is most famous as a romantic poet who's describing the countryside, describing rural life, describing what it's like for children living in the countryside. And he also writes poems ruining the destruction of the countryside, because this is the era where there is an agricultural revolution and the country country is changing very rapidly. So this poem, it's about a yellowhammer's nest. A yellowhammer is a small yellow bird. And this poem, it's talking about this yellowhammer's nest, and it's talking about a child who's looking after the cows, and he sees a yellowhammer, and he follows the yellowhammer to its nest, and he describes this poem. It describes the place, and it describes the beauty of the yellowhammer's song and the beauty of its eggs, and how death is also a part of nature, that snakes can come and steal the young, that the nest is probably being watched by snakes, and how the bird will react to death. And this is a description of nature. It's a young boy looking at the nest, and it's a description of the countryside. Just by the wooden brig, a bird flew up. Now here, the meaning of this word brig is quite difficult, but I think it's referring to a bridge. And by the wooden bridge, a bird flew up. Frit, frightened by the cowboy as he scrambled down to reach a misty dewberry. So the boy who was looking after the cows, he saw a dewberry, and he scrambled down the edge of the bank to pick this dewberry to eat. And this frightened the bird, and it flew up. And this clearly is a yellowhammer from the title, but the poem doesn't actually say that. Let us stoop and seek its nest. And this is almost like a wildlife documentary. So come, let us now look at the nest of the yellowhammer. Okay, so come, let's find its nest. The brook, the river, we need not dread. We needn't be frightened of the river. 'Tis scarcely deep enough a bee to drown. So the river, there's no need to be frightened of the river, because it's very shallow. It's not even deep enough to drown a bee, so it's not dangerous. So it sings harmlessly over its pebble bed, and the river is singing over the bed of pebbles. This little river running down, this little brook running down. Aye, here it is, stuck close beside the bank, beneath the bunch of grass that spindles rank its husk, seeds tall and high. So, here's the nest. It's beside this bank. It's underneath these this spindly grasses, this spindly, long, thin, rank, rather smelly grasses, and the grass is dying back, and it's got grass hanging over it, and the grass is tall. 'Tis rudely planned of bleachèd stubbles and the withered fare that last year's harvest left on the land. So the nest, it's made very crudely. It's made in a rather crude way, and it's made of stubble, of what's left of last year's harvest, the stalks of last year's harvest, and withered fare and dried things that came from the harvest of last year, and these are things that were just left thrown about. Lined thinly with the horse's sable hair, and there's a little lining inside of horsehair. Sable, I think here is a colour. It's white hair of the horse. So there's a thin lining in the nest. They look inside, and there's a thin lining of horsehair. 5 eggs, pen-scribbled o'er with ink their shells, resembling writing scrawls, which fancy reads as nature's poesy and pastoral spells. And look, inside the nest there are 5 eggs, And it's as if somebody has written all over the shells of the eggshells with ink, and it looks like somebody's writing. And you can imagine, you can imagine that this is the poetry of nature and pastoral spells and magic of the countryside. So you look inside the nest and there are 5 eggs that they look as if they've been written over the shells with ink. And you could imagine that writing was the poetry of nature or spells of the countryside. They are the Yellowhammer, and she dwells most poet-like where brooks and flowery weeds, sweet as castily to fancy seems, and that old molehill like as Parnass hill. So these are the Yellowhammer's eggs, and the Yellowhammer, she lives like a poet in a place where rivers and flowery weeds combine, where the flowers and the weeds meet. As sweet as castily. Okay, this is a reference to Greek or Roman legend. This is the Castalian spring, which is on Mount Parnassus, and Castali, or the Castalian spring, was the source, or was the mythological source of poetic inspiration. So it's like saying that this Yellowhammer, she gets her inspiration from the river that is close, and this is like the river is like the Castalian spring on Parnassus Hill, or on Mount Parnassus. The Castalian spring is a fountain which is maybe 2,500, maybe 3,000 years old, and legend has it that Apollo killed the monster python who was guarding the spring, and that's why it's a sacred spring. And pilgrims used to come to wash themselves before they went to speak to the oracle at Delphi. But he's saying that the influence of the water is like the Castalian spring, and there's a molehill on which her partner haply sits and dreams o'er all her joys of spring. And the Yellowhammer, her partner, is on this molehill, and he's dreaming about all the joys of her song, about how beautifully she sings. So leave it still, a happy home of sunshine, flowers and streams. So don't touch it, don't hurt it. Yeah, this is almost something sacred. This is a home of sunshine, a place of flowers, a place of streams. And then we have something, the thought of evil, the thought of death. Yet in the sweetest places cometh ill, a noisome weed that burthens every soil. And this is a beautiful, sweet, wonderful place, but evil comes here too. Evil is like a smelly weed that is the burden of every soil. For snakes are known with chill and deadly coil to watch such nests and seize the helpless young. So snakes very often watch this type of nest, and when the babies hatch, the snake will seize the babies, and like as though the plague became a guest, leaving a houseless home, a ruined nest. And here we have a simile, and the snake coming, it's like the plague has come, and it leaves a house with a home with nobody living there, and the nest ruined. And mournful hath the little warbler sung, when such like woes hath rent its little breast. And the warblers sing a very sad and mournful tune, when their heart has been broken, because the snake has come and stolen their young. So this is saying this is a beautiful place, but remember, this is nature red in tooth and claw, that nature is a beautiful place, but evil things also happen in nature, that it's a place where bad things happen. So, The Yellowhammer's Nest by John Clare. Notice this, by the way. Beside the bank, beneath the bunch of grass, there's some very nice alliteration. The pebbly bed, all through this little bit. So, The Yellowhammer's Nest by John Clare.